Hey Tommy,
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm just fine, thank you.
Just fine.
Good. Yeah.
How is Canada?
Canada is beautiful right now. It's blue skies. Well, it's all a lot of blue skies here actually where we are. But usually it's 30 minus at this point of the year, but it's not right now. So it's actually like 5 plus or something, which is great.
Oh, that's not too bad then. Anyway, and The Awakening, new Camelot record. I was talking to Thomas earlier about the album, and one of the things I said to him, because I talk to him every time a new Camelot record is out, is how can Camelot surpass themselves album after album? And it's surprising that you guys still keep doing it with the Awakening. You guys did it again. I was like, after the Shadow Theory, I was like, it's going to be very difficult to top that. But then the Awakening is out, and it's even better. How was the writing process? And try to guide me a bit um, through that process of writing for these new records.
Well, first of all, thank you. That's really nice to hear. I mean, yeah, it was of course COVID hit, and we got a lot more time to work on stuff uh, than we necessarily needed. But yeah, it's always like in the past though. Like the big difference was in the past we've had a deadline that comes pretty fast after the fact that we're done touring, so we have to hustle and work hard for a small period of time to finish an album because it's not we're not really writing a lot on tour. Like it's just it's stressful enough as it is, and you have
Yeah.
a lot to do and think about. So we this time though we had a deadline that got pushed and got pushed again, got pushed again, and got pushed again. So the hard thing at this time was the uncertainty and to keep working towards a goal that never was set. But that being said, though, the positives were that we got to kind of tweak and twist and turn and replace and listen objectively and for a long time. So for me, it's a very strong album. I think there's no fillers on the album. I feel like every song has something, brings something different to the table, which has to be a story, and I think we really managed to accomplish that.
Yeah. That's one of the things on these records, and I'm not saying that on the past records it's not the case, but on this record, every song could be a single, any. And one of the things you guys went for One More Flag in the Ground as the first single. And when I listened to the record, The Great Divide for me was like an obvious choice for a single. I was
Right.
like, well, why this is like Camelot one-on-one, so to say,
Right.
and but obviously there's probably an idea behind why you guys decided for that song. Maybe because it's anthemic, would make a better video. What was you guys chose that as the first single? Was a label? What happened there?
No, I mean, it's always easy to do the same thing all over again and do like, okay, this is going to speak to a lot of the old fans, and this is going to speak to, like this sounds exactly like Camelot always have, or like, you know what I mean, like that.
Yeah,
There's not formula, but there's a theme to to that. I mean, so what do you have to do if you do something the same way every time, you get the same result
yeah,
as well, right? So if you want to try to break a little bit of new ground and see where that takes you, you also got to do something a little bit different. And with the flag in the ground, we felt we had a strong message. Felt we had a strong song. It was different than in the past, but it still has all the Camelot elements.
yeah.
Uh, I think it was that thing, and then I remember working on it and showing it to Cobra's producer at the time. She was working on the record of her own, and he is very uh, you know, he's done a bunch of rock hits and a bunch of stuff like that, really, you know, well decorated in that field. And he said, this is an awesome song. Like, this is a great song. And, you know, and he didn't know Kamelot, of course, the background, but he was like, this, as a song, I can tell you that this is a really strong song. And you should go for it. And so we were like, okay, I mean, so we didn't really write it to be commercial or any different. It just ended up fresh because, you know, we're new people. We're always trying to tweak things around to do something new, and that was what came out. You know, it was necessarily not trying to do something different. But.
Yeah. And you know, obviously, when you listen to the record, you know, I told Thomas that you know, there's a lot of past Kamelot influences on the record, but also we can see what Kamelot's future looks like, you know. And did you pay attention more to the old records? You know, what was happening there to try to see if would work with the new Kamelot?
Yeah, I mean, it's always. I think we were all agreeing that we wanted to bring some of that melodicness back, like the anthemic melodic stuff from earlier, but make it in today in the 2.0 kind of style, like make the sound a bit different, make it in your face, and but still have those romantic melodies and anthemic choruses. And I think that was what we were working towards, to incorporate that. But then, you know, it's a really diverse album in my mind. It's like we have some really heavy stuff. There's some really beautiful stuff. There's some really like harkens back to the old days stuff.
Yeah,
melodic, and you can see all the you know, fans in certain parts of the songs. You can see the fans interacting and singing along. And I think we also had like a feeling of what do we want the live setting to be like. So that at least when I was writing, I was thinking a lot about that. Like I was thinking we need to have a thing that energizes people and wants them to participate in the songs. Yeah.
And you know, one of the difference I notice on this record, first of all, you're evolving as a fantastic songwriter, by the way. You know, I think you're getting better like a lot with the new songs. It's just, you know, the lyrics and everything, it's just, you know, it's fantastic. But your vocal approach on these records brings a lot of you're talking about the romantic melodies, but your voice as well on these records is a bit more romantic as well, like like in the old days, if we can say that. But you know, there is a diversity in your vocals on this record that like on Silverthorn weren't as present as it is now. It seems like there is an evolution in your singing as well with Kamelot.
I would say so, yeah. And you always try to it was different. The first album, for example, I was trying to just to stay in a certain, not in the box, but stay to where people would recognize the style of vocals, and it was a conscious choice to not to stray too far. But now I think, you know, down the road, you grow when you adapt and you learn grow as a songwriter, get better, and you know, now I feel it's totally fine to incorporate different styles of singing, maybe a different, you know, a bit more high range here and there, and stuff like that. So it's really, I listen to it now and I'm like, damn, great. Like I went for it in a different way on this album. Yeah,
because there was I can't remember which song. I think it probably was one of the ballads. I'm not sure, but there is a part on that you go high, but it's a soft high, like I would say, I dare to say Mariah Carey kind of like holding it's high, you know, I could not sing like that, but it's soft at the same time. And you know, I think that was a really nice touch. And I don't know how you did it, what was going through your head, but it just sounded really good.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess that it's the part of Midsummer's Eve at the end.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and I love stuff like that. I would do it more probably even, but I think I have a feeling of when to use stuff when it's that's one of my strengths, I think, as a songwriter, to know how to nuance. It's not always pedal to the metal for me. It has to be playful and dynamic, otherwise I don't really that's not what the music dictates to me. So I would have that was the obvious choice for me there.
Yeah.
So,
and 2 ballads on this record, which you guys don't do very often. Not even in the past. You probably would stick with just 1 ballad per album, but it made sense to have 2 on this record, and they are beautiful songs, by the way, as well.
Thank you. Yeah, the other one is more of a scaled down rock ballad. I mean, like it's yeah. That one is also very personal to me because I sing about it doesn't have to be just me, but leaving something you love, leaving a country, or I moved to Canada. It was just some and then the pandemic hit, and suddenly you realize you're very far from the things that made you who you are, and yeah. So that was kind of like, of course, a lot of the lyrics are on this album very introspective because that's the only thing we had. We had ourselves and our own brains, and then the world locked down, and you got to be introspective and reflecting on things, right? So yeah, I guess that's the theme of the lyrics. It's kind of self-reflecting and pushing through things. And
there's like a concept on the album, or it's just very individual songs in that sense.
There are they are individually separate from each other, but I think since you're writing, now we wrote it over the 2 years or so, but you were in a certain state of mind, which brings a certain type of lyric. They're all kind of connected in the way that they're written very close together, and I think that's the case with most albums. You can kind of feel that. If you write something, it's the snapshot in time of who you are at that moment, and then that's how you can relate to the things in the same sphere, I think.
I think it's just like us as fans, when we listen to a song 20 years ago, we can kind of remember exactly where we were and what we were going through. Do you have that same idea, like when you listen to Silverthorn and some of the songs? Can you remember exactly what was going on and what's happening and all that? For instance,
Most of the time, for certain things, absolutely. Like I can remember tastes, places, smells, feelings. So yeah, definitely. And also some of the stuff that tend to stick the most are the negative stuff, when you're like struggling with something, or you're feeling bad in a way, that sticks to me maybe more than the romantic stuff. So I'm like, I don't want to listen to that because I remember that.
Yeah. And obviously you moved to Canada. Was it much of a difference? I mean, weather-wise, it's probably not that much of a difference. I don't know. I'm not sure. I only been to Denmark, never been to Sweden, and it was in the summer anyway. So, but
yeah,
what was much of a difference for you? Let's say, probably there is when it comes to food, lifestyle, all that. Did you felt much of a difference from moving to Canada?
Yeah, it's quite different, I would say. I always kind of liked going to North America because it feels like a big vacation all the time, every time you're there and touring and stuff. But and I like the bar, what do you call it? The bar way of living. Like people can go to the bar, have a burger, sit, talk to the bartender. The bartender doesn't really, it's like a lot of the bartenders in Scandinavia, they're like like think they're the rock stars, right? But here it's not. That's not the case. It's this. Here it's like, oh, hey, welcome. If you ever need anything, just let me know. And you don't have to fight for attention. It's kind of a place where people go to hang out and talk to people. If you know, feeling lonely, or if you're just feeling up to talk to someone. So it's really cool. It's a different, very different. People go sit at the bar and eat and talk to the bartender or talk to each other. So that's really cool. The weather and the people here, first and foremost, I think are really similar to Sweden, maybe a little more outgoing. So that's kind of also a cool thing to, you know, people are chill, but they're welcoming at the same time and easy to talk to. And I don't know if it's only here, but it seems to be the case at least. And then I think the weather is pretty similar, except for this is hellish cold when it gets cold. Yeah.
You know, I remember when I went to Denmark, you know, being Portuguese, and we are very, you know, friendly, huggy, you know, touchy kind of people. And like being on the metro or on the bus, people don't look at you. You know, it's like there's like a barrier, and, you know, they absolutely ignore you. And in Portugal, it's not like we look at everyone. You know?
Right.
It's just.
I hope you didn't try to hug people on the train.
No. Oh no. No, I wouldn't get. No, I wouldn't want to get in trouble. Them thinking that I was a lunatic or something like that. No, but I was just fine. Like, okay, people don't like to talk. Okay, it's fine, you know. And I understand it. You're a foreigner, or, you know, you don't know the person, so why would you talk to her anyway? But, you know, because I'm used to like Portuguese and Irish, and like if you went to Ireland before, and, you know, if you go there, people will talk to you even if they don't know you. They don't care. They just talk and say, hey, are you lost or something? And then
I had the same experience in Ireland. I remember being overwhelmed by how cool it was that people would just like, you were standing on the street looking in the tourist map, and people would just come up and like, hey, are you lost? Do you want help? I can walk you there. And then they just like walked you over to where you needed to be. It's like unheard of. That doesn't happen in Sweden.
Yeah, that happened to me when I went to Ireland for the first time. You know, I was looking at the map as well. That was like 20 years ago. And, you know, people were just like, are you lost? You won't need any help? Okay, we want to go where? Okay, we'll take you there. And I was like, what?
That's cool. Yeah, exactly what that's happened to me too, actually.
Yeah. And, you know, when you're writing, you know, for this record, you know, obviously the pandemic, you know, everybody was, you know, you couldn't be like in touch with, you know, meeting people or anything like that. Was there any frustrating times for you when you're writing that you like, you know, this is not coming out the way that I want? You know, I just want to smash the hard drive or something.
Yeah, no, always some of that for sure. And I mean, sometimes it takes 2 weeks to get a verse, but it's just what it is to be a creative artist and write. It doesn't matter what you're writing for. It's always going to get stuck sometimes. But someone once told me that if you can enjoy those moments and think of those moments as the moments that separate you from what someone else would have done, like this is what defines you. You're not happy here. You're waiting until the right thing comes. It might take 2 weeks and sometimes you write a song in a day. That rarely happens, but you can.
Yeah.
And it's just different. But no, yeah, definitely frustrating sometimes. But then try not to panic, or, you know, try to do stuff that you love, to get the creativity flowing again. And but definitely, I think everyone that is creative or does something like that for a living has felt some of that for sure.
Yeah, and you know, Midsummer's Eve, I've heard it's your baby in a way that you wrote, you know, most of it. How long did it take to write that song? When did you realize, like, okay, this is something really cool?
I remember that one came together in a couple hours for me, because I didn't have any pressure to write that, because we already was working on a ballad that I thought was going to make the album. And then I just had some inspiration out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, I want to do something Celtic. And then I just started making it, and I made a really quick demo that sounds basically like the song does now. a little less elaborate, but and I just like made intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, boom, right there, and then send it to Thomas, and he's like, shit, I think we got to do this one. And so there was no pressure or anything, which also helps when you're writing. You're not like blocked or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we worked together with Miro on the final arrangements. He's an amazing arranger. So just to get the right elements and right instruments doing the right things. But basically, pretty much sounded like it did already. But
yeah. And obviously, with this record, besides the ballads and everything, there's great songs. What was the one that took the most for you to write?
Mm-hmm. The one that took the most to write was Flag in the Ground.
Was worth it in the end.
Yeah, but that one, I remember having the riff for the verse and the pre-chorus so long ago, and then it just became like we were just trying to different things around it, and then it's been so many versions of it, and then what actually came out may sound like a simpler song, but that's not. Writing a simple song that has a good hook and a good compact and doesn't confuse people is harder than people think. It's easier to write a complex progressive masterpiece than to write something that might be good for radio. So it's I'm very proud of that song because it was a work in progress for a long time, and I think we got it exactly to where we needed.
Yeah. And obviously having a studio at home makes it easier. When you have, an idea, you can just, go into the studio and write down. What is the go-to material that you use in your studio when it comes to recording, like microphone-wise, software? For those who are interested in knowing that, what normally do you use to record your stuff?
Good question. I have a home studio, which is at the moment just full of junk. So I had to squeeze myself in there, and but it's as it is now. It's not completely perfect for recordings, like for vocal recordings and stuff. So I had to hang a bunch of things. I have to hang a bunch of covers and blankets and stuff, but in the future, I'm going to have, I'm looking to do a perfect, where it's sonically perfect, but, we've just moved a lot the last couple of years, and it's never been working out that way so far. But the hardware I'm working on, if I'm in my studio and I pad it up right, I'm using the Neumann microphones, so Neumann U87 and U67. And amazing microphones. If you can't record a decent sounding vocal with that, that's not then it's not the gear that's wrong.
Yeah.
I would say most of the stuff though, because we recorded it in the pandemic, we had to move around a lot to different spots, and usually when you move around, the rooms are not made for recording, so you have to take care and first do what you can by padding the room, but also using a different mic that doesn't take in so much noise.
Yeah.
So I recorded almost all of it on an SM7B, which is Shure SM7B is a dynamic microphone. Doesn't cost more than There you go.
Yep.
That's what all the songs are recorded on this album, but in different spaces, like 5 or 6 different rooms.
Yeah. I bought this microphone. I have I record radio show, and I have, stuff at home. I have a Rode, desk and stuff like that. And, I was looking for a microphone that wouldn't make, that didn't capture noise and everything. and then I saw it was some photos of Glenn Hughes in the studio back in the day, and he was using this. So I talked to a guy in work in the radio, and I asked him, he's a sound engineer, and I said, like, what microphone is this? And he's like, oh, that's the Shure, and I was like, okay, can we get one of those? They're expensive. And I was like, I don't care. I want to.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I have this microphone for years, and, I'm not getting rid of it.
No, it's perfect. If you have a suboptimal room, and even when I was in a good room, I used that because it just sounded good with my voice too. And so Sasha, when I recorded in Sasha's place, he always puts me in front of that mic too. So that's why I bought it in the first place, to say like, okay, now I can make it sound like I'm in his studio, but then I can also move around because it doesn't pick up so much noise in the background.
Yeah. And now with the new record and, with 4 albums with Kamelot, a lot of great songs. It's going to be hard to pick a proper, set list. Normally, what's your input when it comes to the selecting the songs? Do you like to have a big say in that? It's a very democratic thing. When it comes to deciding a set list, how does it work?
It's usually me and Thomas talking about the set list. But I think it comes pretty natural because usually when we play, we have a couple of video songs already, and that let's say that's 2 or 3 songs that are already out, and usually we play like 4 or 5 new, maybe 4. So really it's easy. You play the video songs. You play if you have a guest, you play maybe the song that the guest is guesting on, and that's really it. Like and maybe the new ballad for each album. So. It's hard. It's hard the hardest part is not to add songs, it's to take away the songs that you don't want to play anymore, or can't play necessarily because you don't have enough time. So that's the big part. Like, what songs are we substituting? Yeah. So yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's always, that's the biggest thing, and that's where we are right now. Like, what do we do? We do, yeah.
And you have the fans saying like, why didn't you play that song or that other song? Why?
Yeah, it's the answer is most likely we didn't have time, because we love the songs. I mean, if we could play longer, we would as well. But so many great songs in the discography and the history of Kamelot.
Yeah.
And I mean, the whole thing though about Kamelot is that it's not a tribute band of itself, so to speak. So it's kind of like you want to play some of the new songs and push those. That means some of the older songs might have to stand back a little bit.
No, and it's understandable, and the albums are great, the songs are great. So, what can you do when there's a new audience, coming to the shows as well, and they know more the newer material than the old stuff? So I'm sure if you try to play a deep cut, you probably have people looking at you like, what is this?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've had a few of those moments where we tried to play, we all love certain songs. Like we wanted to play Black Halo from Black Halo, for example, and then the crowd, just maybe 5 people knew it in that specific, and it doesn't translate live well, because you want to have songs that the most people actually know and can sing along to. Otherwise, it's a little, the show doesn't have the same impact, right?
Yeah, it's understandable. And on this album you have plenty of guests. Tina playing the solos, amazing job she does on the album. You have also Melissa Bonney from Ad Infinitum, joining with vocals. Simon Simmons, back again with Kamelot for a bit as well. Do you always look forward to have guest vocalists on the albums with you?
Well, I think it's a part of the sound at this point. Like, I think people, appreciate it as a dynamic, and I think we have a lot of songs that have female vocals, so we want to play them live. We also kind of have to um, have someone impersonate that on stage, which is also, fun, a lot of fun too, to have interaction on stage and, movement and a little female flair too. So it's yeah, it's good to play off the male and the female and different textures. I like it.
I think there is a good chemistry there when it comes to those, and I think work very well with Kamelot, in that sense. I think, whatever album and era of Kamelot that did that always worked and still works nicely, and we expect that. One of the things I told Thomas was, I think this album, like the Shadow Theory as well, as I said before, deserves to be played, in its entirety. So I told Thomas, 2024, maybe guys should think about the tour, where you can play this album from start to finish, and then you can add a second part where you play greatest hits or stuff from the last 3 records. I think it's something that you guys should consider.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that with this album, for sure, because it has a. I don't think necessarily every album we could do that with, but I think this album, is strong in the sense that it only has songs that really sticks out on their own, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before we go, I know, we are close on time, 1 minute left. And are you looking forward for the tour? First leg, you're going to do the cruise first, and then you're coming to Europe for the first round. You're looking forward to play some of the new songs live?
Definitely. I mean, that's always fun, and see how they go over live, and you get a good feeling right away. And it'll be fun to try the first song now. We're only going to play one new song on the cruise and in South America because the album's not out, but it's always going to be fun to see, because I think it's going to be a really banger live, people interacting and shouting, hey, and being on the ball. So I think that'll be really cool. I look forward to it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, the song is very anthemic. I think it's, probably, you probably are creating a little monster here because people might want to bring flags to the show. And you left people complaining, say like, hey, put that flag in the ground because I cannot see the stage.
Yeah, true. Definitely. Well, let's hope that's the case.
All right, Tommy, thank you very much for your time. Love the Awakening, great record. I look forward to see you guys. You're not playing Portugal on this first leg, but I was just saying to Thomas, maybe on the second leg, if you play Spain, you can play Portugal. So looking forward to see you guys live. If you guys don't play Portugal, I have to stalk you guys somewhere in Europe.
You're always welcome. You're always welcome, my friend.
All right, yeah. Tommy, thank you very much for your time. All the best, and we'll see you soon. All right?
Yeah, see you soon.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.